Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of A Conversation With here on the SevereMMA YouTube page. I am E. Spencer Kite, and I am absolutely thrilled to be joined by women's MMA pioneer, Invicta FC broadcaster, all-around certifiable badass, Julie Kedzie. Jules, thank you for doing this. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for finding time and letting us into your recently moved into home that is not yet straightened and tidied, and Ulysses S. Grant is not yet on the wall.
My boy. Honestly, yeah. I don't know. Did you the biography was so good. That's what got me on board. My mother read it and she's like, "Have you read this?" It's like, oh, I don't know. I like Civil War stuff, but I was more of a Joshua Chamberlain kind of person. But I read just so beautifully written. Ron Chernow's biography of him, just beautiful, and unflinching, talks about his his racism, his anti-Semitism, but also how he just really, as a person back then, came to grips in a really progressive way that you would expect back then. The arc, the narrative arc was just absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, I'm a Grant girl now.
From what I understand, Ron Chernow is the guy to go to for history, military history, sort of big figure history, as we just dive right into things. And this is what I love. This is what I love about this show. It's what I love about having variety of guests on, because I've heard the name a bunch of times. I've never read any of his stuff. As a Canadian, I'm not a big Civil War American military buff, but I've heard the name. I know the name as somebody that, constantly hears him brought up by people that do read a lot of biographies and particularly military and historical figure biographies. So he is a known commodity to me.
He really is. And I think what he has, let's face it, I always offend people constantly, but the specter of white middle-aged men writing about American history, on that spectrum of that, there's a big cornered market there. But on that spectrum of things, what he established is a voice that's open, much more open to other influences. Hamilton, right? He wrote the Hamilton biography, and that's what I'm gonna say his name wrong.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
I always say it Manuel Lin. I always
Yep.
I'm always converting words and names. Yeah, Lin-Manuel Miranda. That's he based a lot off of that. And Chernow's, his Washington was okay. It wasn't my favorite, but Grant, I think he hit some kind of stride with that where it's just moving, especially the later years of Grant's life, where it's his presidency, he just got completely. He trusted the wrong people. It was economic failure, this and that. But he was actually the fact that he wasn't he didn't stay in power, was really, I think, the biggest blows to what they were trying to do with just changing the landscape of America, trying to get more unified. And it's hard to say, because I'm sure that, there's many scholars. Well, of course, I'm not a historian. I just like to read. But many scholars who would say that well, it wasn't enough, and it was Reconstruction was really awful. It was awful, and it never finished. It was I don't know. We all got fucked over a lot in this country, but no one more than the people who are not white.
Right.
So.
Also the history of Canada.
Yeah.
We often try to do the oh, look at those Americans. No, we got our own bag of shit up here. We got our own messy, very, very ugly history that we need to really, truly reckon with and reconcile. And small steps have been taken, not big enough, same as with America. And until, those things change, that none of us gets to walk around being no, we're great.
Yeah.
No, we're not. Humans as a people aren't great.
Yeah, no, I know. Sorry about that. I linked my phone. Now I don't see you anymore. Hold on. That was embarrassing. Oh, here we are. Okay, we're back. Sorry. I got a phone call right in the middle of this that I forgot to turn off.
No worries.
Phone is off now. Yes. No, I you know what I mean? The thing is, I don't know what, actually I do know what it is, or I have an inkling of what it is. When you're trying to everybody feels massively insecure, and nobody more insecure than the people with the most amount of power and money, because immediately as soon as you get it, then you think somebody's going to take it away from you, because you probably
Well, I
took
think
it away from somebody else. You
yeah,
got
I
it from
think
somebody.
I was going to say, I think in order to get to that position, you generally speaking, and my wife and I talk about this all the time, of like, most people that get to that point at some point or another, or many points along the way, have been kind of just generally terrible people and have done terrible
Right.
things, where it's like, you know, you don't often get the like billionaire that everybody universally is like, that guy, that man, that
Yeah.
woman, whatever it is. Same with politicians, same with any other number of things. And so then their mindset is, as you said, well, somebody's coming for it, so I better protect it and hoard it, and nobody can touch it, and I'm not sharing, and don't tax me. And
Right. But the thing is, like, even people who kind of recognize they have a certain amount of privilege feel that because they're human beings, and so they've faced whatever kind of hardship they faced in their life. Like,
Right.
I see on a test once, or I didn't go out with the girl long, or whatever. Like,
right.
but then they think that they've suffered, and the fact that I've worked really hard for things in my life does not mean I haven't been handed a hell of a lot more than other people have been handed.
Right.
Like, that just means
Right.
I've worked hard, and I have worked hard, and I've struggled, but my struggles are like still like nothing compared to what other people go through. And it's just like, if you can just like, I don't know, just if you just can maybe look past yourself to the person next to you. And I'm a really funny person to be saying that, because like I like have all my walls. Like, I'm like this little walled up, like, I don't know, like a monastery girl. I don't know what, but it's like I swear to God, it's just like I don't know why it's so hard to share.
This is
I don't know why that's
already
so
this is
like,
already validating my like initial thoughts of like, I've got to get Julie on this show, because it can go absolutely anywhere. I adore talking to you. I adore the things you think about and the way you present them to everybody, because this is the stuff that I like. And we'll get into other stuff. We'll get into MMA and you and your backstory and progress all along. But like, let's just have conversations about human beings and being better to each other.
Well, and the thing is, it's like, oh, this actually occurred to me yesterday. I was talking to a friend of mine, a really good friend, and he texted like, "Hey, what's a cool thing you learned today?" And I was like, okay, this is weird. I was walking my dog in this new neighborhood. I love it where I'm at. It's like towards the woods and towards a lake, even though it's an apartment complex, it's near a city, it's all like, but it's nice, and it's outdoorsy, and it feels rough, even though it really isn't rough at all. It feels rough, and I do like that kind of feeling, because Kansas gets so damn cold and windy that like any kind of feeling of rough is nothing compared to like what it can be out here. It's a really difficult state, Kansas. I like it here, but it's cold. No, so my friend's like, well, what is something you learned today? And it was like, it made me laugh, because I was walking my dog and I had to wear a hat, and I was freezing cold, and it was nighttime, and I was like, I told him, oh, it's something I learned, but something I discovered. I was thinking that there's no real such thing as genius. That every time we call somebody, I'm thinking like Elon Musk and all this bullshit, you call somebody a genius for this, and they're just repackaging stuff that's already been done before. And then while I was thinking about that, I was like, that's exactly what I'm doing and thinking this. Like, what I'm saying and thinking right now has been said and thought before. And it was like, it made me laugh really hard, because it was like, they're always saying, or I don't know who they are, but there's the expression, don't reinvent the wheel. Like our entire lives are about reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
We all have to reinvent the wheel. We start on all fours, and then we learn to walk. And I mean, it's just like every single human life is about reinventing the wheel.
And at different points, we have to figure out how to make a better wheel and improve the wheel. Like, that's what life is like constantly getting better and learning from the things that we have to learn from, and other people's experiences and our own, and figuring out the best way to do this.
I know, and it sucks, because some people definitely have a leg up in that race. Like, they're surrounded by wheels, or I don't know, their parents are engineers, showed them how to make a wheel, whereas somebody else had to figure it out on their own. But it does help when we help each other so much, right? Like, it's
crazy how that works.
Yeah, crazy
how that works. When we all pitch in for one another, and I can do something for you. Everybody won?
I know.
What
That's the
is
thing is
this
like, to
weird
go back to
thing?
what you said, like there's nobody who's really billionaires and everything that have done horrible, horrible things. I think that's because it's our measures of success are measures of capitalism. And
Yep.
I'm reaping the benefits of capitalism. I have a job, like an actual full-time job. Is it my passion? Maybe not, but it's in a field I respect and it's contributing to the world and I really appreciate that. And like I have insurance. So like I actually I have this list now. I don't know if people know. I don't think people follow me that much, but like when I'm in my commentary and everything like that, I don't know if my teeth got all gnarled and jagged these past few years. And it's because, first of all, I have insane anxiety and I completely grind my teeth at night so much that I just chew packs of gum in my sleep now, which is gross and I'll probably choke to death. But it's also like the only way I can keep myself from waking up with agony. Like I get these migraines from grinding. But when this is after my fight career, but after I graduated from Iowa, my wonderful Bailey died. And I went insane and got this puppy. And this puppy took me on a walk on the ice in Iowa. I fell and I broke my jaw. Did not know that my jaw was broken. But over the past 2 years with the COVID and then being unemployed for a while and just trying to get back on my feet and get my life back together, just my teeth just got more and more gnarled. And finally, I was able, I have insurance, I have all this stuff. I was able to see a dentist and I had to have a tooth removed. And I had these like Invisalign things on, like with fake tooth. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, I feel like I am being rebuilt. Like I'm a bionic person in a lot of ways. But it's like reckoning with all of that. It's hard to explain. I don't even know where I started with this. Probably should have taken some ADHD meds before this.
Terrible people that just
Yeah.
have done stuff and not
Oh,
contributed. And
yeah, I'm reaping the benefits of capitalism, right? I really am. But God,
but you're also somebody that's acutely aware of it. And I would say from our relationship, what I know of you, what limited time I've spent with you, but just knowing you through the industry, you've always paid it forward. You've always looked to lift other people up. And
man,
that's not a thing we get from a lot of people.
I appreciate you saying that because when I look at it feels like a mission at this point. Because if I look at where my career took me, where my mindset was, the choices that I made, I did a lot of pushing other people down. And especially women. And it's just like, I know that like people get real sick of my feminist ranting and this and that, but it's just like, man, I got one cause and it's just to make combat sports better for women. And I don't have to be the front runner of that at all.
Right.
I just have to make sure that I'm making a concerted effort to call attention to it when I can and to just do what I can with it. Like that, it's fun when not fun. I've tried very hard to get out of martial arts and I can't. I am a lifer. I cannot get out of it. I've tried so hard to get out of it. I can't. But when you kind of find your cause or you find your calling or whatever it is, it's like, wow, it wasn't really about me being a fighter.
Right.
And I never knew that till after.
Right.
It's not about being like a broadcaster, although I love it. I love communicating about it. I love talking about it. I love broadcasting, but I'm not going to be a star in that. And I don't think that's something I really care to seek. I just want to be a voice that people can rely on to know that I'm going to be fighting for women in this sport, and yeah, and people who identify as women in the sport. We don't have to go into all of that because I don't want to
for sure
give unformed thoughts yet or
right.
uninformed opinions without, I want to really make sure that I'm careful with how I say things, but really it's just like, I just want women to be, it's way better than it was. It can be so much better than it is.
Well, we're going to unpack and dive into a whole bunch of that. We're going to start.
Okay.
I've seen pictures of Julie Kedzie, combat sports kid, doing the karate, I believe, doing the taekwondo. Yeah. But when did you fall in love with combat sports?
So falling in love with it probably came later. When I was 4 or 5, I started in taekwondo, and I did it because my dad did it, my sister did it. We got so acclimated to doing it. It just became such a part of our lives that when we moved from Missouri to Indiana and we were struggling a little bit, we found a martial arts school and started going there again. And it was kind of a really great time. That school is closed. It's closed, but Monroe County Martial Arts in Bloomington, Indiana was really the formation of so many people's lives. Like Steve and Linda Scott created a community there. And actually, I'm kind of the opinion where when I go to martial arts schools now, I don't want to be part of a family. I don't want to be, this is my martial arts family and stuff. I just don't. And I think maybe it's because I've been burned in some of those aspects, but also, or in some of those situations, but also because that was, I think, a family.
That first one is my family, and I don't need another one.
And it's like, and it's carried over, like, just kind of the lessons I learned there. I mean, just even like, you know, when Steve Scott and I catch up, we talk about Chernow's, like we exchange biographies and all those. Like, and you know, he was a Marine. He's actually, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but he was the Marine who talked me out of joining the Marines, because I wanted to enlist after 9/11, like, and he was just like, Julie, you'd be good, but that's not what you're gonna do. He's like, you're not gonna do that. And probably, I hope the Marines don't get mad at him or something.
I think they're probably all right.
You will not be a happy person in this. I can tell you the structure of this and everything. I know that you love like that sort of thing, but the politics and everything that's involved with this, it's just not suited for you. He was right. He was right. I mean, it was that or a nun. I mean, I was like, I'm always extremes. And I didn't become a nun either because I finally had sex, which I realized is like, that was.
Hey, this is okay. This is all right.
That one.
Yeah. Not doing this at all for the rest of my life would be maybe a mistake.
It's also like when you grapple with things like faith, like I grew up very, very Catholic, but very progressive Catholic. You know, my parents were really encouraging of us. And my father's actually Buddhist now. Like they were always encouraging of us seeking whatever, path. But I thought that the life of a nun, or the kind of life dedicated to service of other people, was really important and meaningful. But I don't know, and I've said this before, I respect people of faith so much. I don't have it organically.
Same.
It's just so hard to, and it's like I want to be able to generate that. And it's not that I don't believe there's bigger things in me, way bigger. It's just that, like, I don't want to be a fraud and say things because it's what somebody else is saying. I want to actually believe it. So yeah, that's where I was like, I would be a bad nun too. Bad Marine, a bad nun. So
hey, listen, at least you've come to understand that and recognize that at points along the way, and kept finding. So started out doing Taekwondo, being a combat sports kid like so many others, myself included. That was the introduction. I watched all the movies. I loved, growing up in the 80s. It was all of those and doing Taekwondo. And it was the best.
Yeah.
But then
and as a teenager, it was like struggling with this and that, but I found competitive martial arts. Like I did point karate and I did Taekwondo tournaments and forms competitions, all this stuff. And I loved it. I love the drama of it. And I know that like you come full circle on a lot of things. Like in MMA, you're like, oh, this is fighting. It's not forms. It's not standing in place and waving your arms around. And then you go back to thinking about it and you think about how machine learning works and how these other things work and how forms and all these katas and stuff like that actually are incredible. Like in teaching you how to respond, teaching your body how to, they're actually great. Now, I'm not going to knife hand up, I'm not.
Right.
But once you kind of get past, I go through so many layers of prejudice and everything I face all the time. And it's something I know about myself. But like, I don't want to, Taekwondo sucks. And then you see people do incredible things with Taekwondo and in MMA. And it's like the thing about mixed martial arts is that you're always going to find an avenue there of translation of something new. And it's like I said, it's not genius. I mean, there are some fighters who it's just inherent to them and they're incredible fighters and the greatest fighters ever, but it's just repackaging, right? I mean, that's what MMA is at its best, is repackaging violence, but in a way that is also art. I mean, a lot of violence can be art, but I prefer the violence that doesn't kill people. I'm
contained,
history. I don't
agreed to, sanctioned.
Yeah.
All of those things.
It's the thing is like, and that's where I stand and like, and I mouth off about all these things all the time, but where it's like combat sports, I understand this, like, this is because it's as equal and even of a playing field as you can possibly get. There's always going to be somebody more superior in some certain aspect or mentally this way or that. But it's not like you're not standing in front of somebody with your hands out getting slapped in the face, because that's fucking stupid. Right. Like it's not fighting. And whatever it is, it's its own thing. But it's like fighting is beautiful. And it gives you the weapons to defend yourself if done right. And it's not always done right, but if done right, you have the ability to be an artist and a tactician and, I mean, and intelligent. And also like in another state, like in a spiritual kind of state, if you know, if you hit all the right parts of it and you grow as a person until, but you have to also like, I'm not, I don't want to dismiss concussions or anything like that. I mean, the damage on my body is pretty extensive. I'm I've got a 60-year-old body at this point, I think, from all that stuff that's going on. I have to get hip replacement surgery in a couple of years. So. But like, I don't know, it is beautiful that you have these moments that you can grow and that you can express yourself. And it's like when you're fighting somebody who's equally well trained, you both elevate each other. You know, it's not, it is about, I'm going to destroy this person, I'm going to be psychologically this and that. I get all that, but that's the entertainment part. The
Yeah.
art part is really where I want those connections to be strongest.
Yeah, that was really beautifully said. Not that I'm surprised by it. You are an articulate and thoughtful individual, but like that was beautifully said. It's the reason I love this sport. It's the reason I fell in love with this sport. I continue to be in love with this sport despite all those other elements that I don't like. Despite all the pieces that every day we sit here on one of these shows that I do, or talking to one of my friends that is in the industry with me, and we go, man, this sport is so hard sometimes to just be a fan and be involved in it. But then there are moments where it's just like, no, that's gorgeous. And I just want to just give me two individuals inside a cage or in a ring or wherever it is that are just super trained, as you said, super skilled, technical. Give me the beauty of it. And I'll continue to like mainline that.
Yeah.
And try to tune out the rest of the bullshit because it is still beautiful at times.
It really is. I mean, I don't know. I like what's going on in Japanese combat sports a lot. Like some of the kind of legacy fights that are happening. As I've been trying to follow that a little bit, but I don't want to give opinions about it or any like because I just don't want to like necessarily weigh in on the stuff. But like with Chris Rini, like with his books, I got to write a couple essays, and it was so fun I don't know, it was just so fun covering that and just like looking at this and looking the way how the interactions were. I don't know. Yeah, it is something really, really extraordinary. And it also shows how damn ugly it can be. Like, yeah, yeah. Oh man.
Volumes 1, 2, and 3. Shout out to Chris Rini. Always The Fine Art of Violence.
What a fantastic.
A new issue will be coming sometime soon. Follow him on Patreon. Let's give Chris a plug here. Go follow him on Patreon. Follow his work on Twitter. MMA Squared is outstanding. Shouts to the Combat Wombat. We love you, Chris Rini.
Absolutely, 100%. Like seriously, somebody who like I didn't really honestly think I'd be writing that much after going to writing school. But then he just kind of gave me, and it was like, oh, I can write about this, and not. I mean, it was still really hard. I don't know why. It's really, but actually, it was when I quit fighting. Then I was going to do something completely different, and then throwing a punch again was actually really psychologically difficult for me. After going to grad school for writing is psychologically difficult for me. It's hard to explain. I have to really battle weird demons. But he really gave me an opportunity to feel good about it. Yeah. So yeah, shout out to Chris Rini. Really.
Always.
Yeah.
So again, more stuff that I want to dive into. God, we're 23 minutes in and you have proven all of my thoughts of having you on here already. I love this.
I love the ego stroking, man. I work, I don't know, like it's a little hard to explain this, and it's actually great, but how do I explain this? I was around superstars or adjacent to a whole bunch of fame, and I'm still adjacent to fame. Like when you see these fighters at Invicta and you see them, they light up when they see Megan Anderson. I mean, she is a star, and they're just like getting their pictures taken with her, and they're like, and it is like, it's so cool to see this. Like, it's like, I know, like, and it's also one of those things where it's just like, usually I'm the one taking the, I'll do the camera.
You'll take the pictures.
And I kind of really, really like that. But every now and then, like, you're kind of like, it's actually never the fighters and it's never their direct coaches, but it's like somebody in their like entourage or something like that. They just, they're dismissive of you're just the person who talks, or something like that, or you're like, because I did so many jobs with Invicta, like including like fight liaison, would be like get down to weigh-ins and texting people, and like, so people don't necessarily know that I had a career in this, and it's sometimes nice to hear recognition of that. It is. I don't need that recognition, but it feels good.
So let's get to the career, because how do you go from being combat sports kid, but also somebody who has a degree from the University of Indiana, I believe, in English literature, to then, was thinking about the monastery,
Yeah.
had some thoughts about the military, but decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to punch people in the face for a living. How did you become a professional mixed martial artist?
I think I became one because I didn't really, I don't know. Part of it was like, I try to think of my reasons for it. And it's like, how do you fall into this? How do you do this? I saw it and I loved it. I loved kickboxing. I loved Muay Thai. Eric Paulson would come to that school in Indiana and give seminars. So I really loved his CSW seminars. I thought they were incredible. But I think it was just seeing other women do it is what it was, watching that hook and shoot revolution and seeing Debbie Purcell and La Rosa and these people compete and just be like, oh yeah, they're like me. Okay, there is something out there. And that's like when you hear these things, representation matters. Representation fucking matters, man.
I
Like,
wrote a piece about it 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
Very important.
it's which send it to me, please.
I will. So it was when Laura made her broadcast debut. And like even just that card as a whole, though, because it had a bunch of the Road to UFC people. One of the winners is from India, second fighter in the UFC from India. His opponent was the first fighter from Indonesia to step in the octagon. Like, they don't, as we were saying off the top, they don't necessarily matter to cis white male me, but for those people in those areas, in those nations, or for women that have heard yourself or Laura or whoever else broadcast, it fucking matters.
It matters. So I'm so glad that you said that. I'm going to read that because like I was going to bring up Laura and doing that. And I haven't had internet here for a while and I wanted to watch that broadcast on my phone and cheer her on, and then I fell asleep. So I'm an idiot, but but it matters so much. Like to see her and it's hard to explain, but it's like when Ronda Rousey first fought in the UFC and I was there for that, I bawled my eyes out when she was walking out. So emotional. And you don't, because you're just told that this door is closed to you. And it's like, again, we're talking about beautiful white blonde woman, judo, like champion, like superstar, like famous, all this attention, all this, everything like that. And that is one demographic, but it's also something that's open. I mean, so many girls started fighting because of Ronda Rousey.
You're also skipping a very important moment on the way to Ronda Rousey fighting in the UFC, and that's Julie Kedzie fighting Gina Carano on network television.
Yeah.
Being the first two women to ever compete on television.
And
you are a goddamn pioneer, Julie Kedzie.
Well, you know what's funny is like I like to use the line famous for losing because like, and I'm not denigrating myself because I got to be there. I got to fight. Like,
I was going to say, you were in the arena, sweetheart.
You're like,
yeah,
I got to do it. Like so many people don't even get to step in there and I got to do it. And it's like, but yeah, so most of my most high profile, like fights and everything were losses. All the televised ones, losses, but it's like, I got to do it.
Right. There's a generation before you that didn't get to do it at that level that people don't know. And you mentioned hook and shoot. Like that's a thing that there are going to be people that watch this that have no idea about hook and shoot. And please go and research it. Go look it up.
Please
go see where everybody came from. Go understand the legends and the pioneers and the roads that those women paved.
And there's so many people who are just totally forgotten. Like I was thinking about the other day, like not a lot of people know who Shelby Walker is. And that's kind of like, wow, damn. Like, I don't know that she and I were never friends. I think we spoke maybe once and I don't think we were in the same weight class, which was like, I like never super liked her or knew her, was a fan of hers, but like I knew of her. She was at that time pretty damn legendary, like for, in terms of understanding how to market things, how to, you know, like
There was a moment at one point where she was like maybe gonna have a UFC fight, like way back in the day.
She let Dana White corner her in some boxing fight.
Yeah.
I remember that. And it's like, yeah, there was like, yeah, I mean, there's people like, I remember a woman I fought on my very first card with, that was her retirement fight because she was leaving to give her brother a kidney. Like yeah, like she had her last fight and then she was donating her kidney to her brother. It was like, I think she actually ended up working for the Obama administration or something. Like she ended up being pretty high profile lawyer or something. I wish I followed people's careers better, but it wasn't internet the way it's internet now.
Right. Right.
It's pretty, yeah, like
but this is also why we need to constantly talk about it and we need to document it. We need people that have been there through it or gone back and experienced it and can provide that insight, because like everything else in the world, history gets lost if we don't talk about it. And so it's important to constantly have these conversations and introduce people to things that they didn't know or don't know or wouldn't otherwise check out.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And that's the thing is, and like bring it back to like Ronda Rousey opened, so many women started training because of Ronda Rousey. And I would say that any woman like coming up in there, like, so 135, you know, the bantamweight division is not necessarily looked at the big division in the UFC anymore. Now it's the straw weights. And you look at people like Angie Hill, who brings a whole other level of representation. I don't know if you've seen her art, but she is an incredible artist too. Like and she's an entertaining fighter and she knows how to sell fights and she knows like, and she's representing a whole other demographic of people in another weight class. Like it, like, you know, it's like opening doors just the way Ronda did. And then Laura having a goddamn seat at that table, having a woman's voice on the broadcast. And Megan O'Leary is phenomenal. I love her. Karen Bryant, love her. Love Heidi. Love, like, I seriously, like, I don't think I've ever, I don't know any female broadcaster with the UFC or somebody in the like media industry who I've thought sucked at it. They're all very polished and good. But Laura had an understanding of the fighting, having been a fighter and having really directed that gaze there, gone in and driven for it and got it. And it's like, I don't think she understands. I hope she understands what door that's, I don't know. It sounds like paternalistic is fatherly, so I don't want to say that, but it's like, or maybe condescending by me saying I'm just proud of her, but I'm so psyched for her. Like it's, I don't know.
I don't think Laura and I have met in public or in person, but we've talked a number of times, and I've been fortunate to get to sort of chronicle this, right? Like we've talked at every step along the way, and from the first time we talked, I think going into season 2 of the Contender series, I said, I know what you want to do. And she's like, yeah, I want to be at the desk. And we talked about it. And every update was getting closer and getting closer. And so it was Contenders calling fights there. And then it was last year we spoke and it was like, yeah, it's got to come. Like, I think I'm proving myself. And I sent her a message after that show. And like, as you said, it sounds weird, but like I sent her a message that just said, I'm so goddamn proud of you.
Yeah.
Like you crushed it. Congratulations.
I want to
enjoy this, revel in this. And she's going to come on here at some point. She's got a bunch of stuff going on and we'll get her once she gets a down break at some point. I know she's in Australia now. But yeah, it's one of those things that matters, that there's so many people that won't recognize or understand why. And I also don't think we will necessarily see the impact of it for 5, 6, 8, 10 years. But there was some little girl whose dad watches fights or whose brother watches fights that has been stuck on that couch on her phone. That's the only TV in the house on Saturday, and that's what's on. And she heard John Gooden say, and we are joined by Laura Sanko. And she went, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
That's impactful.
It's so impactful. And it's okay, first of all, proving herself, she had to prove herself more than any other fucking person. Like that.
Yep.
She was good going into it. Like I mean, that's some sadistic shit. Like, sorry, but I'm just like, that's the thing is like, I have to, my anger or my just like frustration with the status quo of things, it does cloud the message I'm trying to say. Like, I really do try to hold back. And I was just like, she is fucking opening a door and she is an incredible woman. And I think it's pretty damn thrilling to see this happen in my lifetime. And I know that sounds very silly, but women aren't going to be in the UFC. I mean,
Right.
I know that at UFC 1, they had Kathy on there.
Yep.
And but they also had Bill Wallace burping. Like, I just don't think it was the best, representation
Right.
of it didn't really show. And then it's just like, somehow a female voice was just a terrible thing to have, or whatever it was, or just they're not gonna know that she's good. That's what I'm trying to say. She's good. It matters. It matters a lot. And I'm insanely lucky to have had the opportunity to just see her grow, see her surpass everything. It was just like I don't know how to explain it. It was like she's fucking good. This girl's way better than me. This is awesome. Like, I'm learning from her, and she's had less shows than me. Like, now she's had more shows than me. She's got so much labor. Just like, she's a cool person and a generous person. And I don't know. It's really kind of cool when you see people succeed. And it's also really cool when you can cheer for them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think women are taught to cheer for each other enough. And I think that there's a lot of people in this industry that do a lot to pit women against each other. And I understand this is combat sports. They fight. But fighting doesn't mean shaming. Fighting doesn't mean like, fighting means doing a job and working. I don't know. It's just like,
well, and I think in general, we aren't taught to lift each other up. We're taught to tear each other down, and we're taught to compete for that same spot. And if they have it, it means you can't. And that's not necessarily true. Like, my wife and I talk all the time about, there's people that have a mindset of, well, if we give pieces of the pie to everybody, that means less pie for me. And it's like, sure, but why shouldn't everybody have some of the pie?
Yeah. Like, did you bake the pie?
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. Like,
yeah.
You're not the one.
Like, give the pie out to whoever I want.
People to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, but it's just like, you're right. Like, it's a mindset. It's crazy because it was after I finished fighting. And I went into grad school that I had to recalibrate everything, and just really, really confront a lot of demons and a lot of my past and a lot of the things and the notions I'd gone through, things I've said, things I've done, and be like, oh, wow, that isn't actually me. And I don't know how much of how I presented myself to the world was ignorance. I think a lot of it was assumed, like, defensiveness or whatever. Yep. I'm angry at so many things, but I don't think that anger means that a human being who I encounter is any less complex. Like, that they don't have more sides to them, that they aren't deserving of empathy or anything like that. Right. That's the thing. It's like, I would give.
And that they shouldn't be celebrated when they achieve something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just because it isn't me doesn't mean it's like, I mean, we're going all the way off the rails with this, and I absolutely love it. But I've spent 6-7 years in therapy getting to the point of doing the, like, oh, I don't have to be jealous of that person doing that and succeeding, and asking why isn't it me? Because the answer is because you didn't go and do what they did, dumbass. Yeah, you didn't put in that work. You didn't look to try to do that. So just focus on doing yourself and getting yourself to a better place and see what happens. Lo and behold, I get to do cool shit like this now because I've gotten out of my own way.
Yeah, exactly. I think the only way, when it comes to MMA and martial arts and combat sports, the only way for me to actually love it again. I mean, I've always loved Invicta, but Invicta meant more to, and it was, times were very difficult for me with Invicta after, when I retired and I was just trying to get myself sorted out, especially when I first started grad school. But it was getting out of my own way, or definitely therapy. Oh my God, it's so helpful to have somebody like, look at this pattern of behavior or thought that you have. It's okay, but why do you think it's built that way? Or like, why do you think it's pitching this direction? And who told you those things? And why do you believe them? And it's just like, oh shit. But I guess it's, once you get out of you just learn how to love again. Mm-hmm. I don't know, like, you just fucking love the sport. Yeah. And I could never finish writing my book. I could never finish doing all these things that, you know, these were my goals, or this is like, I don't know, goal setting drives me fucking bananas. I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm in a job that has nothing to do with MMA, nothing to, like, and it's great. It's an education. It's wonderful, but there's a lot of goal setting talk. And anytime somebody asks me what my goals are and I'm not on the clock, I don't want to fucking talk about my goals. I don't want to have goals.
Yeah.
We're tired of goals. And I understand that. That's how you have actually a workforce. It's a great supportive, incredible workforce that's working toward a collaborative way of working. And it's actually building up to that. It's like, I feel appreciated, and I appreciate the people around me there. And it does highlight when I see things in MMA and how they are. It's just like, wow, we could do so much better. We could do so much better. Like, I don't know. I always find a way to shit on goal setting, and I shouldn't, because it is important.
Yeah, but within reason, right? I kind of feel that it's a within reason thing, because like, so my wife and her mom had a conversation last weekend about striving, and her mom sort of said something along the lines of, well, if you're not striving for something, what is the purpose? And Sarah brought it home, and we talked about it. And I'm of the mindset now, like, I grew up as a striver. I grew up as an absolute try hard, because that's what we had to do. And you had to continue to achieve, and just settling for whatever you're content with is not okay. Now, as a 44-year-old that has gone through all of that therapy and figured out that, hey, you know what? I'm pretty happy right here.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. And every 2 sessions, my therapist says, how's the book coming? And I just look at her and start laughing. And she's like, all right, I'll ask you again in a couple weeks. And whenever you want to get to it, and whenever you want to unpack that and keep working, fine. But you probably shouldn't, but I'm not going to push you.
No, when you get to it, you're going to get to it. It has to come from a place of enjoying it. Or I understand that creativity takes work, and work takes work, and writing is work. But there is so much other work going on.
Yeah.
There is so much going on right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, I did go to this kind of these sessions about just like anti-racism in the workplace and stuff like that. And it is a very, very imposed kind of supremacist. I'm going to misphrase this, and I don't mean to do that, because I don't want people to misinterpret this, but just this, we better achieve, we've got to get the money, we've got to be this, and we've got to be that, and that, and that. It's just like, these are incredible things. I am a very driven person, a very ambitious person. I am. But when you take the energy for that ambition and that achievement and that drive, and you put it into things that actually, and now I'm going to sound like Marie Kondo, but like bring you joy, then, I mean, it's so
much better.
It's so much better. And it's like,
so much better.
Sometimes those things are, I'm going to walk my dog a little bit longer tonight, and I'm going to think about the world, and I'm going to think about philosophy, and I'm going to find ways to shit on Heidegger. But I always want to hate Heidegger. But I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's like, or I'm just going to learn something brand new. I would like to learn how to quilt. I've always wanted to learn how to make a quilt. And I still haven't taken lessons, so that tells you my drive's not really there yet. But I have all of my old fight stuff in these things, and I just want to make them. That would be
pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said about that, and there's a lot of cross connections with feminine culture and like the culture of sewing and crafting that I don't know anything about, because I've always been in these kind of male sports, or not male sports anymore, but maybe male spaces is the right way. And so it's just like, I think that there's some really interesting like thinking to be done with that. But I also hate sewing, so it's
might not be the thing for you though.
Yeah, it might not be the thing.
Might be a thing that you farm out to somebody else. Yeah.
But it's one of those things. It's just like, I love this. I took a photography class. I'm not a photographer. I took art when I was younger. I almost became an artist, and I just am not disciplined enough in it. I can draw and do these things for hours and hours and hours, but it's never going to be at the rate. I don't produce well. I'm not a producer. I don't know. I'm a zoner, something like that. But like taking a photography class and just kind of looking at the world through that and thinking about essays in photography, it was like, this is great. Like, okay, I understand how to make a better picture now. I'm not a photographer, but I like knowing like what to look for so that I can communicate what I was trying to communicate with somebody else in this image. I am ranting. I'm sorry. I don't know.
No, don't.
Yeah.
Every single person that comes on here at some point does it like, I'm sorry. And truthfully, the purpose of this show is just to sit down here and have conversations with people that I find fascinating,
Oh, I like that. That's a good
sharing ideas,
yeah.
letting people get to know more about people that have been in the space, that are still in the space, that are fans of the sport, whatever it is, because we see only a small percentage of people. So like Eric Nixick was on this week. People see Eric every week in a corner. They see little clips of him here and there. They follow his Instagram, they follow his Twitter, whatever that may be. But you don't know different things. I've talked to Eric countless times and didn't know until we sat down some of his history, some of his father, his birth father dying when he was 2 years old, things
Wow.
like that. That's what I want to share with people. And so rant away about everything, anything. Fair enough. So you said your career is defined, or people remember it for losing.
Yeah.
When did you know it was time for me to be done with competing? Because that to me has got to be, for many people, a very difficult decision. Was it for you, and what made you decide, you know what, this is when it's time to go?
Well, I mean, to this day, I have fantasy fights in my head, like, come back, that one more fight. But it's like, I I can barely walk. Like, seriously, like I was trying to jog for a while. I thought I'd run a marathon, and it's just I'm too broken down for that. Like, and so there's like, I don't know. I think it's really easy for me to throw whatever kind of lens that I'm viewing the world at right now today on that time and say, this is why. And then tomorrow it's going to be a different lens. And it's going to, no, this is why. No, this is why. This is why. But I think in a lot of ways, our bodies or our minds, something about us, or some people maybe, and maybe I'm a lucky person, something in me, my defense mechanism got me out of it when I needed to be out of it. I think that there were things going on in my life psychologically. I was seeing a sports psychologist actually, because I had I lost a fight, and I couldn't. I think the Jermaine fight. Yeah, Jesus, I think yeah. I saw a sports psychologist after the Jermaine fight because it was like I didn't execute in that fight. Like I just didn't execute. I couldn't. No, that girl hit so hard. My God, I was out on my feet in the third round. Like, but I didn't execute. I couldn't pull it off. And so I was seeing a sports psychologist after that. And the questions we were trying to address, I was either not ready to answer fully, or I was seeing that it was just the answers were going to be for me to leave, and not just leave all of it, leave
Right.
out, leave all of it, because there was just stuff that my life was getting to, I don't know. I needed to protect myself. And it kind of came into, I think, full focus after I had shoulder surgery, after the Tate fight, I think in 2012. God, it's hard to remember years now. That's bad. I have a timeline somewhere. I'll get back to it. Like, I'll get, but after the Tate fight, it was a fun fight, but I was so like, I had to have surgery after that. I couldn't like walk for a while. Like I could walk, but it was like when you shoulder surgery can be so insane because it's like connected to your core that like my sister just had hip surgery and she was able to walk afterwards. I couldn't walk after shoulder surgery, which is weird, but it's like it affects everything. I mean, it's so connected to your neck and this, and and I had such a hard time after that getting back on my feet. And I was so proud of little things like being able to walk long distances and do this and do that. And it was like, but I was listening to a lot of short stories and novels and stuff. I remember actually walking in the foothills of Albuquerque and listening to Jane Eyre, and just loving how just angry she was and feeling it, and how she like didn't let herself be repressed or held back by what was around her, even though it was all, we were talking about like weird aesthetic things right now, but it's hard to explain, but you realize you're not where you're supposed to be and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And the entire reason I was there was because I loved fighting and I wanted fighting to be my love. And it just wasn't. And it's really hard to explain, but I'm shading things a little bit here because I don't know that saying specific situational
Yep.
circumstances will do any good for your show or any good for anything out there. But I mean, it's pretty easy to piece together the situation I was in. And a lot of it came from my own choices. A lot of it came from choices that were imposed on me that I wasn't aware were being imposed on me. And I got out. And sometimes I look at it as like really regretful. And sometimes I look at it as like, God damn, I got to be myself again. And it was like weird because you feel like you're yourself.
Right.
Till you walk away from it. You're like, that was not me.
Right.
It wasn't me. Like, who was I? Like, you know, I guess we change day to day. So there's your like very, very convoluted, non-specific.
No,
I was just like, I had to get out. And it's unfortunate that it was fighting that my fight career that maybe took a hit from it, maybe didn't.
yeah, I was gonna say paid the price a little bit for life.
Yeah, I think that it's I'm not embarrassed by losing fights. I'm embarrassed when I didn't perform. That's embarrassing.
Sure.
You know that you can be great, but you don't hit great. Yeah, then you have to. There's certain factors that'll just show up. And I wrote that essay about seeing this painting in Australia, and I haven't printed it. I haven't put it up here yet. I don't know where it's in a box, but it was just it was an important moment for me to just like recognize myself as a very unfinished, sad person wearing a mask. And like, I may have been the best athlete, the best athletic, like performance wise, like in terms of how my body was tuned in, how I was ready to go. Like it was like the height of probably where I'll ever be physically. But also if you don't have that complete connection emotionally, mentally, psychologically, then, you know, I think my brain saved me, got me out of there. Like, I didn't consciously say I want to quit, but I did. Like, it came out of me. And once it came out of me, I was like, oh yeah, I do.
Yeah. All of a sudden something goes, wait, that is what I want.
Yeah. And it's like,
I didn't think I would say those words, but holy shit.
And it's not like I let go of anything easily. Like, I just held on to all the strings, all the, even when I moved away, I just held on, hold on to that boat. Don't let it go. Don't let it go. Don't let it go. Until therapy, good therapy. And then you're just like, holy fuck, the thing that I'm holding on to, the strings that I'm holding on to were tying me up. Like, holy shit. You know, it's like, oh my God, that was what was keeping me from being myself. It's just like, I wound shit around myself. And then I was stuck, and then I was really mad that I couldn't move. It's just like, that's a lot about being a human being, though. I mean, it is reinventing the wheel, right? We have to rediscover ourselves all the time.
Yep. But we have to be introspective. We have to examine all of the ties, all of everything. And sometimes it's harder than we ever want it to be. And sometimes we trace those threads back and we go, oh shit.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they lead to you, and you have to make changes of your own because you made bad choices or bad decisions or surrounded yourself with bad people or whatever the case may be. But that's part of being human.
And those, you know, the bad decisions we make, they may define us for other people. Sorry, my hands are so dry, so I keep rubbing them with lotion. They may define us for other people. They may define it, and you can't help how other people are going to see you or how they're going to cast you in the world. You just can't. But what I can do is think about, okay, I think a great deal of harm was done to me. And some of it was self-imposed and some of it was not. What harm did I do? And if I can't fix the fucked up things that I did because of my choices or the careless, that's the thing, is like carelessness, you know, deliberate carelessness sometimes. I can't fix that, but I can try to make sure somebody else doesn't have to happen.
Well, and I can be better going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I can offer amends. I can try to repair and just be better going forward. And
isn't that honestly perfectly in tune with what fighting is? I mean, granted, I always got caught with arm bars, but you know, you get the best analogy. But it was like, but you don't get caught in the same. You know, you just try to move forward. You try to be one submission defense better, right? Like one element of your fight game better the next time around. And there was, I was like, try to be 1% better every time you're in the gym. I don't think that adds up. But and I'm really not a person who likes pop psychology. At all. I don't like your countryman, Mr. Jordan Peterson, at all.
Neither do I.
He's a fucking terrible writer. That's what kills me. Is his writing is so bad. But, I mean, besides but what is he? And he's not doing anything new. He's repackaging The Secret, but for incel boys. I mean, it's like nothing. There's nothing new that he's saying. Make your bed.
He's just dressing it up in fancy language that people seem to think is intellectual and insightful.
Yeah,
and I read it or hear it and I go, really? This guy?
I know.
This is your leader?
Yeah, I read it was this, what is it? When you get your PhD, is your thesis or your dissertation? I tried to read that because I heard somebody talk about how bad it was on a podcast. And I was just like, okay, I want to, and I was like, this is bad. And I mean, my writing, God, I hope my thesis is still embargoed. I've got typos all over the place, but at least it's like vulnerable. Like it's trying. Like he doesn't try. I don't know. He should be afforded the complexity I want to give everybody else, but he is directly
sure, but he's being held out as somebody that is someone that legions should follow and that more people should follow. And
no,
I think people should be running the opposite way.
Yeah, or just.
I mean, listen all you want, but just go through it and figure it out.
Like, yeah, figure out your own. I mean, it's just like, God, it's so much more fun when you can think for yourself. It's so much more rewarding. Like, yeah, these people are just this, I don't know. And like really great people have quoted really awful people to me. I'm like, I know you're a really great person. I know you are. But this is stupid. Like, how do you not see this is stupid? Like, this is harmful. I don't know. But,
that is one of the hardest things in the world.
Right.
Is when somebody you deeply care about and or you hold in a certain esteem or in a certain way hits you with one of those things and you're just like, oh no, not you.
I know.
Not, oh. And I mean, we get inundated with it in MMA, the number of people that are quoting and promoting and taking pictures with kickboxers that are now incarcerated in Romania and things like that you're just like, really, you idiots? Really?
It blows
this is the guy you're going to defend? Come on.
It also, the people who, like, there are some people who are really kind of terrific and good thinkers in their own way, but because they can get money from those photo ops, they're doing it. And it's just like, but don't you have any remorse for what this is? And I'm a girl that is a picture taken with Putin. I mean, and Berlusconi. Like, I can't say I have remorse for it because I like the story that comes with it. But I was
going to say, we don't have to get into the story because it's been told, but go find the story, ladies and gentlemen. If I can direct you to anything, go find the story and enjoy a laugh.
Yeah, but it's just like, I've met many a harmful person, like interaction with a lot. It's MMA. I mean, my God, like it's just like, but I also like, I think it's very, very cowardly when people can't say, wow, I was wrong. That person sucks. Very cowardly.
Or can't make the decision of, I'd rather not take that picture.
Yeah.
That's just, I'm going to pass up on this one.
Yeah.
I don't care what the price tag is. I don't care what the clout is going to be. I'm going to just skip this one.
Yeah. You don't know when you're in the presence of monsters. You really don't.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't.
You don't always know
for
it.
Sure. And sometimes you're stuck. Sometimes it just happens. Sometimes you don't have a goddamn choice.
For sure. Like I'll sit here and I will shit on slap fighting and Dana White and all of this other shit. But it's like, okay, first of all, he also is a complex human being who should be afforded the dignity of that recognition, right? But and all this, but also it's I know that there are employees of that company that work for that, and that's their job, and they have to do that. They are, direct employees of not Zuffa, whatever it is now. But you know what I mean? Like, and I know that my shitting on it could be hurtful. But also, like, I'm still not, I don't care. But I mean, I care about my friends who have to do things. I care about media who, like, this is my press credential. I have to do this. This is my job to tell this story. I understand that. And I think that we throw these terms out like this person's a shill and that person's a shill. And it's like, I don't know. People also have to eat, we can change the conversation as much as possible. And I think having independent things outside of what you have to do is really, really important. But it is, capitalism sucks, man. It puts people in really, really awful positions. And sometimes you just have to turn off your morality meter when you're in those positions just to get through the day. And it's a luxury that I can sit here and say all this, right? Like,
Yep.
I don't give a shit if Dana White doesn't like me. I owe that man nothing. You know, he owes me nothing. Like, I don't care.
Right.
Like, so many people who have so much power in the sport have no power over me. And we're something to get back. And like, I would have to be fired from Invicta because of something I've said or I've done. I'll stand by what I've said or I've done. I don't, Shannon wouldn't fire me because Dana White. Like, I don't think, but I don't want to speak for her. But like, we don't have an association.
I think you're probably all right.
So like, yeah, we're not associated with them. So, but if I had to be fired or something like that, I would probably be angry. I'd be upset and everything like that. But I would also say, okay, yeah, I did say this thing. Now, if I can apologize for it, because I mean that apology, I will. But I have the luxury of being able to say, yeah, no, I'll stand by my fucking words. Fuck that, whatever it is. Not everybody has that luxury. Not everybody has that space. And for me, it's very freeing, but it also puts me in obscurity, right? I'm not part of the conversation. Well, this conversation, but I'm not part of the conversation, the big conversations that happen in the sport. I like it better not being, but I don't not value my time being a fly on the wall when some of the greatest moments of the sport were happening. You know, being around some of these epic champions, these like movers and shakers who really did, you know, make MMA better. I was so fortunate. And I feel like I'm luckier now having lived that and knowing I can walk away from that. Can't walk away from MMA, can't walk away from combat sports, but there's so many facets to it. And I'm so much better now in my life and happier in my life that I can see women achieving in roles that I never thought they'd be opened for me. And knowing that they're creating that little space for the next person and the next person and the next person. And the more people that get in there, the more they'll change it for the better even more. And I get to see that happen. And I was just like, fuck, that's cool. It's cool. And I'm better off being on this side of it. Way better. Like where I get to actually appreciate that women weren't allowed in the UFC. They weren't allowed in most fight leagues when I started. Now they're the ones talking. Well, at least one of them is. We're going to get more.
One of them is. We're going to get more.
Yeah. And it's just like, my appreciation for that. It just like makes my heart swell to think that like, wow, what a journey. It's not enough. It's not enough. But it's a damn good place. Yeah.
I want you to keep being a part of these conversations. I want you to be a larger part of these conversations because you have a tremendous amount of insights. You do, as you said, you were around a whole lot of history. You were a fly on the wall for a lot of really big moments. You participated in a lot of really big moments. I want you to continue to be part of these conversations. Keep writing for Chris Rinney books. Yeah. Keep sharing all of your thoughts and opinions on Twitter. Keep kicking ass on Invicta broadcasts. Keep coming on this show whenever you want to.
Oh, anytime. Absolutely. Yeah, I said like I don't really do a lot of interviews, but of course I'll do one with you. Like of course I will. Like I only really want to talk to friends now, if it makes any sense. Like people that like, you know, if I said, wow, this subject hurts, I can't talk about it, you would respect that, but also let me have the space to say that. And I don't know, like you just see.
Yep. I mean, listen, I'm sure there have been episodes of this already, and there will be future ones where people watch them and go, well, he didn't ask about X. Yeah. It's probably because I fucking care about the person that's sitting across from me, and I don't want to be an asshole. I don't care about ratings. I don't care about clout. I don't care about, I said to you as we were organizing this, and you were like, well, maybe I'll even throw some makeup on. I was like, come as you want. It's you and me. Like, we're just going to sit down and do this. I love all of you that are watching this. I appreciate all of you that are watching this, but I would continue to have these conversations if it were just Julie and I and nobody watching it, because this is what I live for and what I love.
I have to say, I really appreciate you saying that. I just appreciate you creating the space for that, because it's hard. Like, I know Reddit MMA gets mad at me for saying I hate them. I've done Q&As there, motherfuckers. I go on there. I like to get news from that. I like to see people's reception to news too.
Right.
To big news, like what they remember, what they think about. Like it's like my interaction with forums is a lot of it is just a lot of laughter because I remember Sherdog forums and MMA.tv forums, and like that's how you found fights. So the fact that like there's a Reddit MMA forum makes me laugh because it just seems so not where everything started. But the conversations, they do always kind of go toward the scandal or the things that are happening, the salacious details of this and that and this and that. And then you don't actually have to ask about those things or deal with those things when you're talking to somebody who wants to give you a really important story, right? Like, I'm sorry, I don't care about gambling masterminds in this sport at all. I don't give two shits. I should, I don't care.
I don't need to know every single person's opinion on the 3 biggest stories in MMA. I want to know about that person.
Yes, exactly. Like I want to know, like, like how somebody arrived in the space that they're in.
If I get 10 or 15 minutes with somebody, I want to know every question I ask is going to be focused and tailored to them and their journey and what their life is right now or something along those lines. That's it. I owe them that respect. They're taking the time out of their day to give me that time. I don't want to ask them about anybody other than themselves and maybe the man or woman that they're going to get into the octagon with at some point. But even that is like, sure, you trained and you're going to fight. That answer's pretty straightforward. Camp was good. I want to fight someone.
Did you study journalism specifically?
No.
Yeah, me either. Although I don't consider myself in a media space. I guess as a commentator, I'm in a media space. And it's so weird that the label of journalist is so oddly applied, isn't it? I mean, like I say media a lot. And I think it does, and I even tweeted, I think it does a lot of heavy lifting with like what we're going to consider, like, because it is media. This is a media forum. I think I am MMA media because I write about it when I get the opportunity and I commentate, but I'm not a journalist. And so many people who have gotten to really important positions in MMA media, it's not specifically journalism. And it's interesting to me how that label is just applied so freely when it's like, maybe pundit is the right thing, or maybe it's just I think voices. Like I mean, that's the important voices, people who are covering the sport. I don't know. I'm sad about Bloody Elbow. I really hope that will continue. Like I think that was it's just diverse, like I
mean, as somebody that when I started out, they were my nemesis. Like I remember back in the day of having arguments with a bunch of people from there. That's where I first encountered Jonathan Snowden and Luke Thomas and people that are supremely talented that I respect to no end these days, even if I still want to argue with Jonathan Snowden 99 times out of 100. But like, it's been a formidable site for 15 years that I've been covering the sport. And to see it go the way that it's going is truly sad because it winnows down to what you're saying about like covering the salacious, covering the drama, repackaging tweets and Instagrams and things like that. We're losing a site that doesn't really care about that stuff, that gave voice to people like Luke, like Jonathan Snowden at times, like Karim Zidane, like Trent Ryan-Smith, like Chris, who, otherwise wouldn't have been in this space, but they went, this is really cool what this guy can do. And it's so different than anything else just here. And it's phenomenal. And we need sites like that. We need people like Nate Wilcox giving opportunities to all of those people rather than the same always everywhere.
And I actually really like that you brought up that you locked horns with people on occasion, because I think there's a difference between having an adversary, or not even adversary, but having an argument with somebody who's informed and smart and having a difference of opinion and growing your own thoughts in that negation. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
it's not
just
I still joke to this day that it pains me It pains me to acknowledge that Luke Thomas is the smartest man in this space and one of the primary voices I want to hear from on everything and
Oh,
anything.
yeah.
Because very early on in my career, he was like, "Fuck you, I don't care about you. You're
Right?
nothing."
Yeah, I
And I
know.
was like, "Well, fine."
But how do you
Yeah,
like? I mean,
he's
what a
just
great way to
he's just
prove
brilliant.
to just go. Yeah, but what a great way to prove yourself. That's the thing is we just like in a fight, your opponent makes you better. You rise to the level. And it's like if we didn't have people that we were going to disagree with, but disagree with actually like point by point by, you know what I mean? Like
Yep,
find ways. We wouldn't have that ambition and we wouldn't have that growth. I mean,
yep.
that's
Luke Thomas telling me very early on that Bleacher Report sucks and is just a shithole site when I
oh,
was like, "We've got good writers over here. I'm gonna prove it to you one day."
Leisure
They
Report.
they turned out okay at some for a while.
Oh no, I think so too. I think Bleacher Report, like the really good arguments came from
Yep.
there. Like, it really like no, I that was I
Shouts to everybody that has passed through Bleacher Report, including Dwayne Finley, Jeremy Botter, myself, all kinds of other people, the
it's
great Patrick Wyman,
oh
all kinds of other smart people.
yeah. I mean, it's like I don't know. I think it's really, really important, and I think that's what gets very sad about the
Yeah,
trip. And I don't want to say Dana because he's not all encompassing. He's not that. I know that he thinks he's important, and everybody thinks he's important, but it's a figurehead. We're ceding
right.
control to something bigger than one person, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know why the space is doing it. I think it ebbs and flows, but it does make me sad that things are turning out this way.
Yeah.
They'll change again. They will. It ebbs and flows. There's going to be some big artistic revolution in MMA right around the corner.
And I
But
also
when we,
think that we're just 30 years in. Like
yeah,
that's the thing that I keep reminding myself of because I'm somebody that consumes a lot of other sports
yeah,
content. I love basketball and I look at the NBA and I go, yeah, the major sites in basketball aren't talking about the bullshit that we talk about in MMA. And where are those voices that are just focused on telling the best stories and explaining the best things and all the stuff that I care about in basketball that I listen to? And it's like, right, basketball's in year 75. So we'll catch up. We will get there. It's going to take a while still. Hopefully, we get some investment into infrastructure within the media landscape of this sport because it's painful to have seen so many great voices come and go through places like The Athletic,
oh
through
God,
places like
I thought the
Bloody
athletic,
Elbow, like the number of places and the number of really smart people that have
yeah,
departed this sport or gone into smaller pockets in this sport that
right.
should be large prominent voices and just aren't afforded that opportunity anymore is disheartening, but I hope they stick around and they will get a chance to come back because we need them.
We do need them, but the fact that they were there and the fact those words are still out there, I think about great baseball writing,
Yep.
like especially older
Yep.
great baseball broadcast, great boxing broadcasts, all these things. Like we still, I mean, our appreciation for that grows the farther away we are from it. You know, like these stories that come out, and I think that oh shit, okay.
I was
No. You're good. You're good. I still have an hour. Um, sorry, I just started teaching kickboxing. So like again, which will make me write again. That's the thing is like once I actually start doing the arts, then I start writing. But no, I think I don't know. Everything has its golden age, but I don't, or we call things a golden age of this and a golden age of that. And I don't think that that's actually I think we really have a lot of nostalgia loving frenzy in things. And we always want to paint something in the past as somehow very, very special. But the past is always special. That's because we can look at it as the past, right?
Yeah, we can romanticize it. We
Yeah.
can strip away all the parts that were ugly and we can look back
Yeah.
fondly
I
with
mean,
just how we want to look at it, which is great in some regards,
yeah.
but it also allows us to put on the rose-colored glasses and
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Hook
forget
and Cheese
about the
was
parts when
incredible. Like fighting for them, that was incredible. I got my start there. I was very, very lucky person, but like I got paid like maybe $200 a fight, you know, like so
right.
it's like I mean, you know,
Yeah.
not every fight, but you know like you just kind of like I don't know. You know, there are things that you when they're happening at the time, you don't necessarily like know that this is going to be commemorated or thought of as something
Right.
special. But I don't know. I think it's another reason, like being a fly on the wall or whatever, for some of the greatest moments of the sport. I don't even think they're the greatest moments. I think our greatest moments, some of them have happened, some are yet to happen in MMA. But I think the fact that it was also a time where all of you writers, I got to interact with so many of you guys, not even realizing I wanted to be one. At first, when I first started MMA, I wanted to be an MMA writer. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to learn journalism. I'm going to learn this. And then I really liked fighting better, and writing is so extraordinarily hard for me sometimes. Like, just so hard to do. Other times I love it, but it's really hard to access that part of myself. But I got to meet so many cool people like yourself, and just so many people who actually wanted to listen and encourage. I went to writing school because honestly, like, Ben Folks helped me like get into graduate school. Like, he was like just a really good friend and really encouraging voice, and helped write a letter to get me into grad school. And I was like, that's incredible. And Melissa Segura also, who did some MMA coverage. I don't think she does it very much anymore, but she also wrote a letter to help me get in. Like these, I met so many people who just were just like, hey, Kat, you helped me out, like, get this kind of thing. I'll help you out, get this kind of, it's just like, there's a lot of incredible reciprocity. Okay, Cass, hold on. Sorry, my dog. She's
no worries. Mine just walked out of the other room and like gave me the look of like, dude, you've been on there for a couple hours now.
Yeah, I know.
We're gonna need to go outside here before mom gets home.
Oh, she's terrible. Great dog. Honestly, I love her to death.
Same.
Yes.
Same. Yeah.
I should go, actually, I guess now. I'm ranting and ranting it, but honestly, thank you for having me on here. It's actually really great to be talking about this before I teach, because that does kind of make me in this mindset, like, of teaching and just growth. I like it.
Well, thank you for coming on. I greatly appreciate it. It was everything that I expected it to be and more. You are a pioneer. You are a legend. You are somebody that I hope, as we continue to make history and talk about history, that people remember your name and remember your contributions. They are many. They are vast. They are greatly appreciated. You're the best.
Well, thank you. You're the best. Thank you very much. Like, it's really sweet. I don't even cry. Okay. Well,
for Julie Kedzie, I am E. Spencer Kite. This has been A Conversation With. We'll see you next time.